If Shadowgate was a movie, plot changes and casting calls. For nearly 4 decades, Shadowgate is still as one of gaming's most iconic point-and-click adventures. A labyrinthine castle that lies trapped behind every door, and the looming threat of the Warlock Lord summoning the demon Behemoth to end the world. Its puzzles, grim atmosphere, and infamous death screens had secured it as a cult following. Why, what would happen if Shadowgate left from the world of interactive puzzles to the big screen? How would Hollywood reshape its minimalist narrative into a full-out fantasy epic? And who would take on the roles of the wizard Lakmir, the doomed Warlock Lord, and the last of the hero kings? Let's step into the torchlit halls and imagine Shadowgate, the movie. Plot changes, building a dark fantasy epic. Because the original game was puzzle-driven, a film adaptation would need to expand the world, characters, and lore. Here's how the story might evolve into a cinematic version. 1. The full backstory for the Hero King lineage. In the game, the protagonist is simply the last of a great line of Hero Kings. The movie will likely explore the ancient kingdom once protected by this bloodline. A prophecy foretelling the Warlock Lord's return. Why the protagonist, perhaps a reluctant heir, is the last survivor. Expect flashbacks of tragic family loss and the burden of destiny weighing heavily on the main character. 2. Lakmir becomes a mentor character. The wizard Lakmir briefly appears in the game's intro. A film version would give him a larger mentor role, establish his history with the Warlock Lord, reveal his secrets, possibly including a vast mistake that enabled the Warlock Lord's rise. He'd be the Gandalf/Dumbledore figure, offering cryptic guidance and of course warnings about running out of torches. 3. The castle becomes a character. Castle Shadowgate is essentially the start of the game. A movie would highlight shape-shifting architecture, rooms that seem to remember past intruders, living walls, whispering spirits, and traps that feel intentionally personal. A constant race against the time element tied to burning torches. This film will likely adapt the gothic fantasy tone, reminiscent of the Dark Crystal meets Pan's Labyrinth. 4. Expanded monsters and encounters. The original game features dragons, cyclopses, trolls, wolf women, and daedalus slimes, plus its legendarily freaking death scenes. A movie version would expand these moments by turning certain monsters into recurring antagonists, transforming puzzles into full-fledged action or survival sequences, keeping the tone. Deaths are brutal, but the film may preserve the game's dry humor by snarky narration or character commentary. Yes, someone will get sucked into a mirror or just sob like goo. We deserve that. 5. The Staff of Ages quest becomes the core skeleton of the plot. Rather than a pure puzzle hunt, the movie would structure the story around obtaining the free artifacts that form the Staff of Ages. Each artifact will be located in a different tower or wing of Shadowgate along the movie to tell a three-act quest story. 1. Is descent into the catacombs, a dead threat, a guardian ray. 2. The Tower of the Elements, traps, ancient riddle mechanism. 3. The Hollow Beast, Cyclops battle, dragon encounter. Each piece of the stuff is both a MacGuffin and a milestone for the forces of the hero to grow. 6. The Behemoth and the final battle. The game's ending, where the hero assembles the Staff Ages just in time to mortally wound the Behemoth, would be expanded into a massive VFX centerpiece. The Warlock Lord would likely begin merging with the Behemoth, start reshaping the world into a castle into a hellscape, force the protagonist to choose between sacrificing himself or unleashing the Staff's full power. The finale would likely remain faithful. The Behemoth dies and drags the Warlock Lord into the abyss, but the movie would emphasize emotional closure, the acceptance of the hero's burden, and the return to the outside world changed forever. Casting calls. Who should bring Shadowgate to life? Here's the dream team that balances classic fantasy action powerhouses with fresh faces, capable of carrying a moody, atmospheric film. The Hero King, protagonist, Timothée Chalamet. He can portray vulnerability, inner conflict, and reluctant heroism. Perfect for a young man discovering he is the final hope of an ancient lineage. His ability to act in surreal, atmospheric settings, Dune, makes him a perfect natural fit. Alternate choices, Ace of Battlefield, Beyond Whitehead, and Paul Mescal. The wizard Lakmir, Ian McShane. McShane brings the perfect mix of gravitas, mystique, and revenge charm. As Lakmir, he'd feel like both a mentor and a man who had made dangerous mistakes in the past. Alternates: Mark Rylance, Hugh Laurie, Jared Harris, the Warlock Lord, Mads Mikkelsen. Intense, mythic, commanding. Mikkelsen would give the Warlock Lord the terrifying, tragic, and regal presence he deserves. Someone who believes that summoning the Behemoth is the only path to reshape a broken world. Alternates: Charles Dance, Ciaran Hines, Jason Isaacs. The Princess / Labyrinth, Anya Taylor-Joy. While the original game barely mentions the King's daughter, the film would likely expand her into a major supporting character, perhaps even aiding the protagonist in the outside world. Castle, the visions are magical links. Taylor-Joy's ethereal presence fits perfectly into the Shadowgate's mythical world. Narrator / voice of Shadowgate, Castle Shadowgate, Doug Bradley. The clever twist: just like the sardonic defenses in the game, the movie would contain occasional dry narration delivered by the castle itself. Doug Bradley, Pinhead from Hellraiser, could nail that eerie, playful tone. Alternates: Ron Perlman, Kate Blanchett, Keith David. Dragon Guardian voice: Idris Elba. Because if you're going to have a talking dragon, make it smooth, majestic, and terrifying. Cyclops motion capture. Dave Bautista. Sympathetic, yet monsters. A perfect match for Bautista's strength, tone, and style. What the movie could feel like. A Shadowgate adaptation would likely blend the dark fairy tale dread of the never-ending story, the puzzle-driven atmosphere of Cube, the gothic and fantasy visuals of Pan's Labyrinth, the dry, deaf humor of the original game. It would be a surreal torchlight made to horrors that rewards cleverness, but not brute force, just like in the game. The final thoughts: how could it work? Absolutely. While many video game adaptations struggle, Shadowgate has a few unique advantages: a contained location, Shadowgate, a clear hero-villain-demon plot, a mythic quest structure, tons of visual and atmospheric potential, a cult following that loves its weird, dark charm, with the right directors, perhaps Guillermo del Toro, Robert Eggers, or even Peter Jackson returning to dark fantasy. Shadowgate, the movie, could become a haunting, memorable fantasy film that stands out from the mainstream. As long as the movie includes at least one absurdly direct death by mirror portal, fans will walk away satisfied. Ever wonder what your favorite games, shows, or cartoons would look like on the big screen? Welcome to our playlist. If X was the movie, plot changes, casting calls. We dive into epic movie adaptations, imagining new twists to the story and casting the perfect actors to bring them to life. If you love exploring alternate versions of the stories you grew up with, or just want to see how your favorite characters would jump from screen to screen, this is your ultimate destination. So hit that playlist, buckle up, and step into the world where anything is possible and every story gets its Hollywood moment.